Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel IELTS by Kulwant. So today in this video we are going to discuss about IELTS speaking module. So basically the IELTS speaking module is conducted on the other day. Either you have done your listening, reading, writing or these modules are pending. So let me first tell you about the speaking module and how this test is conducted. So in part 1, so basically this test contains 3 parts. So in part 1, it is a personal discussion. So why I have termed this as a personal discussion? So it is a general discussion about your favorite book or something like your hometown or your hobbies, and you know these things very well. So this is the very first part, and this part must be delivered in informal language. So you have to use informal language. So what is informal language? So now let me tell you. Informal language is a language which we speak with our friend, such as when we are having a conversation with our friend. This conversation is not a professional conversation, right? So when we discuss something with our friend or something like that, we do this very casually, or this is a casual conversation type thing. So in this we have to use informal language. So things like when we start our answer, we can use, for example, if the examiner asks you a question that what do you do to stay happy? Okay, so what do you do to stay happy? Well, I do many things to stay happy. You know, nowadays people have many kinds of worries and stress in their life. So it's very important to be happy. And I do many things such as I love to talk with my friends, as well as I love to sit with my family in order to be happy. So now if the examiner asks, can you stay happy all the time? So the question is, can you stay happy all the time? So you can start by informal phrase, not really. Not really. So you can start your answer like that. Not really, because you know it is a tendency of human nature that it cannot stay happy all the time. So this kind of vocabulary or this kind of words you can use in your part 1. Okay, right? So now we will talk about the part 2. So in this video, we will only discuss about part 1 and part 2, right? So part 2 is the main problematic part for many students, because they struggle when they have to speak for 2 minutes. So now I want to tell you about the easiest strategy in order to do your cue card very well. So this part 2, you have 1 minute to prepare. So I advise you to use this 1 minute effectively. So how you can use this 1 minute? You have to develop a story in your mind. So what I mean to say that develop a story in your mind is that there are mainly the so-called bullet points are there. So I personally, I have achieved a band 8 in IELTS speaking. So how I have scored this band 8 is by not looking at the bullet points. Now you will say, what will happen if we will ignore the bullet points? So just ignore the bullet points. Let me tell you. Let me first give you some example. So do one thing, go to the IDP speaking webinar. Speaking webinar on YouTube. Okay, go to the IDP speaking webinar on YouTube. Here Miss Tina addresses to the candidates, and basically they answer the questions. This particular webinar is about 58 minutes long. So you don't have to look at the 58 minutes webinar. Just do one thing. At last point, there are questions and answers. So at last, I mean to say, you can watch this from 50th minute or something like that. So IELTS speaking webinar, where the teacher is Tina. So she is an IELTS expert, official IDP IELTS expert, not a so-called IELTS expert. So she will explain that you can even change the topic of the speaking. And this thing, I want to tell you, this particular thing happened with me as well when I went to deliver my speaking test. Just let me tell you, I was given a topic. Talk about an aquatic animal. So aquatic animals are those animals who live underwater. So they live underwater, so that is why they are termed as aquatic animals. Now I was not aware of any aquatic animal, and I was very worried about that what I have to talk about on this topic. But I had watched this IDP speaking webinar, and this IELTS expert of IDP tells in that speaking webinar that you can even change the topic. So if you have nothing to say about an aquatic animal, you can change the topic, but you have to explain the examiner why you cannot talk about that topic. For example, I was given this topic, an aquatic animal, and I started my cue card like this. Well, although there are many aquatic animals and these animals are found underwater, but personally I am living in a countryside area, so I am unaware of any kind of aquatic animal. But I can talk about a domestic animal instead. So the domestic animals are also very popular, and here I'd like to talk about one domestic animal in particular, and it is none other than cow. So I've talked about cow. Domestic animal. So now you will see, it's very hard to believe, by the way, because we are told by the institutes that you cannot change the topic, but you can change the topic. But you have to do one thing, you have to explain the examiner why you cannot talk about that particular topic which is given to you, and you can talk about something instead. Okay, so now I think it's clear. This is the proof. You can go, I think due to the guidelines of the YouTube, I cannot publish or share that video with you guys, but go to the IDP speaking webinar, search on YouTube, IELTS expert name is Tina, just go to that webinar, skip the webinar for the first 40 minutes or something like that, when they have some questions written on the screen. So there is a big screen. So there is a big screen on which this is written, questions, and she answers each and every question. After the answer of this question that you can change the topic, she tells the examiner doesn't pay attention to the all 4 bullet points. Okay, so the examiner, for example, let me give you one cue card, and for example, if we talk about an event that you celebrated. Okay, so talk about an event you celebrated. So remember, if you have given the speaking before, you will know that examiner asks you that this is your topic and I want you to talk about an event that you celebrated, but they never say about the 4 bullet points, that what was the event and blah blah blah, things like that. They don't pay attention to that. Okay, so I think this is now clear to you. You can watch that video of on the official IDP's channel, so that will make you clear about the bullet points, and also you can change the topic as well.